What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 4 of our MV Agusta F3XX track bike build. I'm super excited about this episode today, guys. We're gonna see a lot of things change on the bike. This is the moving episode where we're gonna see last 3 episodes we've seen small bits and pieces, taking stuff off the bike and making minor changes. But today we're going to see some goodies, and I'm super excited about it. So I want to get right into it because this is probably going to be a longer episode than the previous 3. But let's get to it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get these headers on the bike. That way it'll allow me to button up the radiator hose and everything, and I won't have to worry about bumping them, moving them, and everything like that. And I can get the fluids back in them off camera and so forth. But as I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, I told you guys that I was probably going to grind off that bracket, and I have. Here it is right here. Let me put this down. And the screw, there was nothing to the bottom of the back of the screw. It just pops out like that. So this thing was in there literally rattling around like so. So I just ground off the ends and off it came. So we're good to go. As you notice, I didn't put the wideband O2 sensor where I was going to. So I had it marked and originally here. I decided not to put it here. I didn't put it in the other area either, which would have been next to here, which would have put it directly under the oil filter. Instead, I decided to put it in the link pipe. So I decided to put it in this location on the link pipe. So this will install to the headers here, and then the muffler will be up here. So I decided to put it in this location. This puts it directly behind the oil pan and in front of the rear suspension. So there's nothing in the way of it whatsoever. Nice, clean welds. Super excited about that. So that's all done, wideband, so forth and so on. So with that said, let's get to installing. First thing we do is going to put on our header gasket. We're going to start to fit these. So what I found best to do with these multi-piece headers, so this section disassembles, and then there are 3 separate sections. I choose to take this half off and then just fit the 3 headers on top of the engine. It seems to work out best that way. I have more movement and so forth. So let me go ahead and pop these off the bottom here. All right, there we go. So that is off. Now you see the 3 pieces can move independently, and it allows me to get this in here in position and get these installed a lot easier than before. All right, now that the headers are on there loose, we can install the rest of the manifold. have our first problem with custom parts. So the hole spacing on the exhaust bracket from SE Project is not the same as the hole spacing on the motor holders. They seem to be just a little bit off. I'd say maybe 2 millimeters. So I'm gonna have to space the bracket over here on this side to get this the bracket to work, because obviously I can't move those. So let me do that, I'll be right back. All right, all fixed. All right guys, with the exhaust done, we can turn our attention up front here with the top triple clamps, clip-ons, and so forth. We're gonna do some work here, install some things, and we need to make some room for ourselves. So for the time being, I'm going to remove both intake runners or intake tubes. We're gonna take off the top clamps, and we're going to get the clip-ons off. You don't need to watch any more of me disassembling the bike. So with the magic of video editing, and we're back. As you can see, I've removed the top triple clamp, both left and right intake tubes, just to give us a little bit more space up here. Why do we need space? Because we're going to be installing our steering damper in this area here, between our display and the frame, as opposed to between the top triple clamp and the tank. The reason I'm doing that is the air filter that I've selected here requires a little bit more maintenance than your stock air filter. So after every track, I'm gonna have to take the tank off, remove the top of the air box, and clean out the inside of the air box and clean my air filter, because it's so dusty here in Arizona. So I wanna make sure that as little or none of that dust gets down into the combustion chamber as possible. So it requires a little bit more maintenance, and I don't want to have to take off this top triple clamp every time I do that. Now, mounting your steering damper in this location is considered the race location. So if you have a stock F3 and you're thinking of doing this, sorry, you can't. The reason you can't, on a stock bike, there's a lot of stuff in here. There's a headlight housing, wiring for said headlight, wiring for your turn signals, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's normally in this location, including your key cylinder. So when you're doing this mod, you lose your key cylinder. We have to go to a keyless ignition, which we're going to be doing here. So you don't want to do keyless ignition on your street bike for obvious reasons. And like I said, you got the headlight housing, and a bunch of other stuff that gets in the way of installing our steering damper. So this is dedicated track bike modification only, and I think it works a little bit better. It allows me to remove the tank without removing the triple clamp and get to this air box a lot easier. So with that said, let's go on over to my desk. I'll show you some of the parts we're going to need for this. All right, here's my Bitubo box of goodies. Most of these items I got directly from Bitubo USA, but not all of them. The first item here is the Bitubo fork mount bracket. This second item, this is the one you really need from Bitubo. This is the bracket that mounts to the frame and mounts our Bitubo steering damper. Definitely got to get that one. This is the standard Ohlins mount that mounts the Ohlins steering damper. And then we have some pro bolt items here. So some titanium nuts, titanium screws, and then some custom stainless steel screws that I got off of Amazon. I'll talk about those in a minute. And then just some spacers. All right, we're back over here at the bike. I have my Bitubo parts over here along with my stock upper fairing stay. And you don't have to do what I'm doing here. Bitubo sells a kit that installs in this location that you can buy, you know, as a complete kit. Steering damper, brackets, all the mounting hardware, everything you need. I think Brock's Performance has it for about 600 bucks. I've seen it other places for about anywhere from 550 to 580, but you can buy that entire kit and just pluck it right down in here and be done with it. However, I already had a really good Ohlins steering damper and I didn't think there was any reason to make this go to waste. So I tried to figure out how could I use this in this location, and I did some digging and searching and found out there are a couple of people that mounted this in this location using Bitubo parts. So the Bitubo kit comes with a mounting hardware, this bracket and this bracket. This bracket, let me put that down. This bracket mounts around your fork tubes. You can get these, you don't have to get the Bitubo one, but they come in various sizes because they're various size fork tubes. You can get this on eBay, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them a number of places. You do not have to get them from Bitubo. So, and in hindsight, I probably should have done a little bit more searching because the Bitubo parts are really expensive. But you'll need one of these to mount to the fork. The other part that you need from Bitubo is this bracket. So this bracket mounts in this location, and I'll bring you in here in a minute, but it mounts on the outside of the upper fairing stay to the frame, excuse me. And it allows your steering damper holder to mount to it. So this mounts in this fashion like this, and it allows it to pivot, so forth. You need, this is key. This you need from Bitubo unless you're going to make one of your own and so forth. But having said that, a lot of aftermarket parts are designed to work on stock bikes. They're expecting stock components. What I mean by that is that this bracket is designed for the stock upper fairing stay. So here's our upper fairing stay. Here's the portion that mounts to the frame. And this bracket is designed to mount over it. And as you can see, there's no space. The bolt will go through the holes. It'll mount nice solidly here. That is not the case, unfortunately, with our motor holder's upper fairing stay. Okay, so here is the top of our motor holder's bracket. I've already moved this top bolt, and here is our Bitubo upper clamp. And this clamp, the rounded side, is designed to go towards the frame, so it will mount like this. As you can see with no bolt, there's a lot of space. So we are going to have to use some spacers to fill in that gap on either side so this mounts properly. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the fork bracket. I have already marked, because I've mocked this up, I've already marked an area on the right fork tube exactly where I want this bracket. I would suggest you guys do the same, play with it a little bit so you make sure that you get it in the area that you want. So mine is about right there. So I'll put it there. I'm going to use a little bit of blue thread locker on the bolt. Not a lot, because I do want this to come out later, but I don't want it flying out on the track. Next, I want to mount this bracket. This bolt, I have a couple of titanium bolts, hardware, on the way from BST Performance or BST Titanium. I can't remember exactly where they are. Normally I get my stuff from Pro Bolts or Pro Tie, but As you see, this bolt is threaded all the way through. I needed a bolt, or you will need a bolt threaded all the way through, or at least one that has a considerable thread length on the end. Pro bolts, this is 100 millimeter, by the way. Pro bolts, they have a 100 millimeter bolt, but only like the end, I want to say 25 millimeters is threaded, and that's not good enough. The reason being is on the motor holder's frame, there is a welded nut. And what was happening with my Pro bolt is that the shoulder, the non-threaded portion, was hitting that nut and it wouldn't allow me to get the proper torque, and I was tearing up things. So I got these stainless steel ones off of Amazon until my other hardware gets here. But nevertheless, this works. I don't have to worry about it because the entire bolt is threaded. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to use this spacer on this side. We'll put it through like that. And I think that will be good. Where you're at. The other thing is that you'll need a lock nut on the other side of the bracket because, let me take this out to show you. Man, I should have explained that before I put this in. So there's nothing captive on the right side of the bracket. So the screw will go through here. It will screw into the nut on the right side and it'll go through afterwards, but there's nothing captive on this side of the bracket. So we need a nut over here. I got a titanium lock nut from Pro Bolt. This will work. Just so it'll go on the outside like this and it'll be captive against this side of the bracket. Just an FYI, as you're putting this together, it'll make sense if you're doing it yourself while you're doing it, but I didn't want you guys to forget about that. Okay, so let's do this. Put this back in here again. Slide that through, will give us some space. Rotate this way. We'll put this lock nut on the other side. And this 100 millimeter nut or bolt is too long, as you can clearly see, but I wanted to make sure that I got enough thread on here so that this would lock on. All right, there we go. Bracket is secure in place. Now we can take our steering damper bracket and we can install it. Again, I'm going to put a little thread locker on the bolt. You can, I'll get to what I was going to say in just a minute here. All right, so what I was going to say is that this is the bracket that comes with the steering damper. I think it's Moto Corsa or something like that makes the bracket that mounts to the front of your tank. You can use this bracket. The only deal here is that it will mount, instead of your steering damper being mounted horizontally flat like this, it will require that your steering damper be mounted like this, which takes up a little bit more vertical space. So I wanted mine to lay perfectly flat, so I opted for this one. I got this one, I mean, you can order from Kyle Racing or directly from Ohlins. I got this one on eBay brand new. They were like 40, 50 bucks or something like that. The other thing is that the eyelet on here has an 8 millimeter hole in it. All of the eyelets do. The ones I just put on here has an 8 millimeter hole. But this one by stock, there's a sleeve in here, a reducer, that reduces this eyelet down to 6 millimeters. It does that because this bracket on this top triple clamp, this mounting hole right here is 6 millimeters. So if you're going to use this one, you'll need to drive that reducer out. It's not pressed in there really tight or anything. Just grab a 7 millimeter or something that's less than 8 but will drive out the sleeve. put it in a little vise and you just need to tap it out. It doesn't need to be like hydraulically pressed out, and you don't need to use a whole lot of force. It's in there really lightly, but you'll need to press that out, and then you can use this bracket if you really wanted to. All right, that's not torqued down to anything. Now I'm going to mount my steering damper. Again, I've mocked this up. I've already marked on the steering damper where I want this bracket to end up. So I'm gonna slide this in like so. And I have a line there. There's my line. Come on. Bring it back to the line right about there. We'll grab our other titanium fastener for the end over here. Again, a little bit of thread locker. Not a lot. Now this is in here fairly loose. I'm going to tighten down the steering damper clamp bolts here and then check my clearance left to right as I move the forks lock to lock. So we'll tighten this up, just snug. Now we want to move the forks left to right, lock to lock, just to make sure that the steering damper isn't hitting anything or binding. We also want to make sure that we don't try to overextend or, slam this side of the eyelet into the body of the steering damper. So you can see we got plenty of clearance there. There's probably a 1/2 inch on that side. We're not making any contact with the fork over here. There's no contact with anything there. And you can see the body is not hitting the fork here. We're not fully extended, and we have about a 1/2 inch on this side, and we can still get to the adjustment. So we're pretty good here. So I'm going to go ahead and snug these down. Start over here on the right side. Put the screws right back in it so we don't lose them. Get that out. Drop that right back in there. Again, so ironically, your throttle control unit here has 2 starred security screws on it. So you will need a Torx pick like this that has the hole in the center. Hopefully, I have the right size. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get this guy off. Houston, we have a problem. Okay, so I was able to, let's just say, make the tool work and get this off. The problem I have is this is a T20 Torx bit, and the hole in the center, the security hole, is not big enough for the pin that's in the middle of this bolt. So I had to drill it and then tap it on here with a mallet. But I got them out, and we won't be using these puppies. I'll find new screws. The other one. Number 2. If anyone needs a stock set of clip-ons for an F3, I got you covered. Otherwise, those puppies are going on eBay. Okay, so let's get our new Woodcraft clip-ons, and we'll put those puppies on. Here. So we have our clip-on tubes, it looks like. And what's nice about these clip-ons is that should you go down, and if you do enough track days, it's not should or when, or if, I should say, but when you go down, clip-ons are often things that get bent and broken. And these are multi-piece, so you can just replace the piece that's broken rather than having to replace the entire clip-on. What's also nice about these is that to help you get everything aligned, there's a graduated scale on these. I'll zoom in. Hopefully you can see that and it won't get too blurry for you. One of the issues while I'm doing this, one of the issues that I ran into, you'll see here in just a second, when I was mocking stuff up, is that because of the larger air intake tubes, particularly on the right side here, this cable, the clutch cable, is really short. It's really taut. So I've ordered a +2 clutch cable. Should be here in a few days. Ordered that from Van Hill. They have a direct replacement, so it's a completely stock clutch cable, just 2 inches longer, and you can order them +1, +2, I think all the way up to +6. And then the opposite, if you for some reason need it shorter, you can go all the way to -1 to, I believe, -6 as well. So I found a couple of screws that I think will work. So get this. Minor problem here, so hopefully you guys can see this. So maybe you guys can see this, maybe you can't, but there is a locating pin right here that corresponds to a hole on the stock clip-on right here. The Woodcraft bar does not have any locating holes on it, so I could do one of two things. One, get this in position, then drill a hole, which is probably what I'll do. Or I could just grind down that locating pin. The problem with grinding down the locator pin, then you have to figure out some kind of way every time you twist the throttle to make sure that the entire throttle doesn't spin on the tube. So I will do that at some point, not probably off video, but right now I'll just put this back on, slide this on here. It won't fit properly, but it'll be in a spot, and that way I'll be able to mock it up a little bit later. Right about there. That's the end of the bar. I'll snug these. So the screw. Let's make sure we don't. All right. Now we'll just need to sort of get them in place. I have an alignment tool that helps with this. Next up is this beautiful piece of kit. This is my brand new Brembo 19 RCS Corsa Corta. Let's go ahead and fit this puppy. Comes with nice black titanium fasteners, which is pretty cool. All right. My plan was to pair my Brembo CC with this. This is my AEM factory titanium brake fluid reservoir. This unit is made specifically for the Brembo CC unit. They also make one for the RCS non-CC unit and then universal brake fluid tanks as well. Unfortunately, I can't use this one. Reason is I'm running into clearance issues with the upper fairing stay, as well as the fairing. I tried lowering the clip-on altogether, and then I have clearance issues with other things. So unfortunately, I cannot use this guy. By the time you see this video, hopefully I will have a replacement already in hand, but chances are it'll be a universal AEM that I can mount anywhere, or it will be the standard plastic reservoir tank that comes on every sport bike known to man. But yeah, a little bit of a disappointment, but that's to be expected when we're building custom bikes and you're throwing a whole bunch of aftermarket bolt-on parts. They don't all play well with one another, and we've already seen that this upper fairing stay has already given us some issues in other areas as well. So not a big deal. I was hoping I could use this one, but I can't. By the way, I've already put on the grips and our bar end sliders and our Rizoma brake lever guard. I did that off camera. Why? Primarily, it's super simple. I'm sure you guys have done it a million times and seen people do it a million times, so you don't need to see me do it. But I'm recording this particular portion for like the 5th time. So this is one of the things that I couldn't take off and reinstall so that it all makes sense. So it is what it is, sorry. But let's move on to the display, which I've installed like 5 times already, but I'm gonna do it again. This is my i2M Chrome Pro 2 TFT display unit, currently in a Malati protective case. This is the unit off of my BMW S1000RR, and you guys probably already guessed that I was going to be installing this one on this bike. I love this unit. In fact, I love it so much, I'll probably get another one for the BMW, although it'll probably be like the Lite or the Plus unit because I don't use all the features that come with the Chrome Pro 2. I just really need the TFT display, and that one's significantly cheaper than this guy. But super happy to be putting this on our A track bike because I think it looks fantastic. And the F3XX, that unit came with an AIM TFT display unit. The XMS, I believe, is the one on that unit. I happen to think this one is a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. You guys let me know in the comments if you think this one or the AIM is a better unit. However, before we throw this on the bike, let's head on over to my desk and weigh this stuff because this thing weighs a ton. The original display that we took off the bike does not, and this comes with a bunch of added things that we have to put on the bike as well. Its own wiring harness, GPS unit, wideband O2 sensor. So unfortunately, we're going to be going the wrong direction in our weight savings conquest. We're going to be adding some weight. How much? I don't know, but let's head on over to the desk and find out. So here is our stock display. There's not a whole lot to it. The screws are on the back. So we'll put that on here. And we have 9.8 ounces. 9.8 ounces. Not even a full pound. Now, because we have so much stuff, I'm gonna put a box on here. We're gonna fill the box and I'm gonna zero that out. Hopefully you can see that. I'll zero it out. So first we have our accessory wire harness that we have to put on the bike. So that's gonna go in there. We have our main wire harness for the i2M. We need that. That's gonna go in there. We have our wideband O2 sensor. The bag doesn't weigh anything, but I'm gonna take it out of the bag. Anyway, we have that. We have our GPS unit. So that's gotta go in there. We have our main wire harness adapter. So this little adapter guy it'll plugs into the i2M wiring harness and the opposite end plugs into the bike's main wire harness. We definitely need that. And then we have our i2M display unit and our Malati case. So all that told, we are up to 3 pounds, 8.7 ounces. We're adding nearly 3.5 pounds. Actually, I take that back because the other one is about 0.9. So we're adding roughly 3 pounds of weight here. So not what we wanted to do, but it is what it is. All right, let's get back to the bike. All right, guys, we are back over here, ready to install our i2M Chrome Pro 2 TFT display. This already has the F3 specific bracket on it. i2M makes a bracket for a significant amount of bikes. I won't say all bikes, but all of the, the standard ones, the Panigales, the R1s, the RSV4s, so forth and so on. So super simple. There are just 3 nuts or bolts, I should say, that screw into here. All right. So we'll call that installed. Obviously, we still need to do the wiring harness and all the attachments and things of that nature. We'll do that in the next episode because this episode is getting ridiculously long. We are over here at my desk. Here I have our stock top triple clamp with the ignition, keyed ignition already installed. We're just going to spin that off. These are 5mm Allen head bolts, which is interesting because our throttle tube had these security bolts. Well, hopefully you can see the dot there in the middle of the security bolt. I was expecting this to have these security bolts as well, so I don't know if the previous owner had removed this at one time or not and put these Allens in here, but I've always seen these with security bolts, so it's kind of interesting that they do not. But we'll just take our 5mm and we'll spin these off while I'm doing that. Another interesting fun fact about the F3 is that it doesn't have an immobilizer associated with the keyed ignition. My Panigale V4 Speciale over there and my 13-year-old BMW S1000RR, they both have immobilizers. So it's interesting that this bike in 2015, 2018, 2019, I believe, because they're all the same. I don't think they changed that, but I could be wrong, don't quote me, but I know in 2015, this bike does not have an immobilizer. So switching to a keyless ignition is super simple. We just need to remove the keyed ignition and chuck it. Okay, I'm not gonna chuck it, but we can chuck it. On my BMW, this key, or the chip in the key technically, has to be somewhere on the bike. I have an Alpha Racing keyless ignition on that bike. And basically what you do with that is you take the key, or basically the key chip, you put it in a little box, you screw the top halves and bottom halves of the box together, and you tuck the box away somewhere on the bike. But the key is always on the bike so that the immobilizer signal is sent to it's transmitted, sent to the receiver, and the bike starts and so forth and so on. This bike doesn't have anything like that. It's literally just a keyed ignition with no security screws on the bottom of the keyed ignition. So all we need to do is remove that off of here. We're not going to reuse this. We're going to set this aside, put it in our parts bin for future use. And we are going to be installing this one. Here is the keyless ignition that I've decided to go with. I believe there are two that work with this bike. I know of two. There may be others. I don't know all of everything, guys. But this is one from Jet Prime. Woodcraft also makes one as well. This one simply bolts onto whatever top triple clamp you're going to be bolting it to, and it plugs in. Super simple. Anyone can do this. There are two bolts. That's all you need to do. Let's take a look at the top triple clamp. This is my new CNC Racing top triple clamp. I got this from Bellissimoto, so if you want one yourself, just log into the bellissimoto.com website or give them a call. Tell them your year, make, and model, and you can get one yourself. You might even mention my name and you might get a discount. Anyway, here we go. Nothing spectacular about this unit. Solid black CNC machine from one piece of billet. Absolutely gorgeous. Titanium fasteners, at least here and here. I don't know about these. I don't think those are titanium, but the other ones are. Would have been nice if that titanium was black or even colored, not just a general silver. Anyway, let's get our keyless ignition installed. All right, we're gonna grab our old hardware, our mounting screws, because the new ones that came with the CNC Racing one, they're too long because we're not using the post now, so they're just too long. So we're going to go with the old ones. At some point, I'd like to find some hardware where this bolt head recesses down into the opening of the keyless ignition module, but for now, this is fine. All right, there we go. Jet Prime switch installed on our CNC Racing top triple clamp. Let's put this puppy on the bike. I want to make sure that the bolts, the 3-pinch bolts, are sufficiently loose. You don't need to take them out, but they do need to be loose. And then I have a mallet here. Make sure it's all the way down and seated. Route our wire. connector is over here. It's conveniently orange, as you can see. Connect these two together. Then we can tuck the rest of that down out of the way at some point. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to change out the steering stem nut. I have a black steering stem nut. This guy, I completely forgot. But we do have some silver pieces. So we have the silver pieces, the Adriani fork tops. They're silver, and then this silver here. So it may make sense to leave the steering stem nut silver, or what do you guys think? Should I go black? Let me know in the comments. Black or silver steering stem nut? Damn it. All right, guys, I think that is a wrap for episode number 4 of our F3XX track bike build. This is going to be a long one. I'm down to 40 minutes of editing, and this portion isn't in it yet. So trying to keep this under an hour is going to be tough. But really quick, goals of this bike, because I really haven't really talked about them. We know that we're building the F3XX, but I want to reiterate, if I haven't said it already, that I'm not looking to build an exact one-to-one replica of the F3XX. There are just some things that I can't get my hands on, like the full carbon fiber bodywork. We're not doing that. The AIM TFT display, we already have an I2M display. So we'll be replacing some of the same parts, but we'll be using our own parts, our different parts, not parts that they selected. Anyway, you know me, I am Derek. This is Euro Superbike Life, ESBK Life for short. You know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, or smash it if you didn't like it. Please subscribe, please click that like button, particularly the like button. That drives my content to other people, and it helps YouTube recommend my videos to more enthusiasts like us. And if I can get more people watching my videos, then I can do more content. If not, then you know me, I may disappear again for another 5-6 months after this build. So anyway, please click that like and subscribe button. Until next time, guys, take care. Yeah, I'm changing it. Don't be silly. We're going black. Puppy sits right in there. Now, doesn't that look so much better? Now episode 4 is done.